My teacher, my first teacher, who wasn't really, had no idea that he was my teacher. He was just a guy who I stumbled into, who was wild and shamanic and non-dual before non-duality was a thing, an Irish storyteller, mythic, ceremonialist, wrathful, triple Aries, shaman, I would say. And he told me, and not just me, but he told everybody to not ever look really for the results of any spiritual endeavor. It's futile and it just distracts you, and it sets up the mind in a kind of measuring sort of way. And I took that on board, and he said, instead of doing that, just commit to what you're doing. You know, just be truthful with what you're doing. Be 100%. The path of totality he spoke of. Yeah, because 98% won't do it. You've got to throw yourself in, all in, all in. And then maybe, you know, something happens, but you don't really know what, in a way. You know, I had no idea at the time what he was really talking about, but he was sharing some deep wisdom. That guy was just out of this world, you know, in terms of his capacity to take people into another experience through ceremonies, you know, ceremonies that don't make any sense to the mind, but kind of speak to some mythical, archetypal body, subtle energy body, or deep, mythical, ancient body that we have inside. And his ceremonies that would last for 8 hours, 10 hours, a day, 2 days, you know, would take you into a different experience of reality, of life, rather like taking probably ayahuasca or taking a sort of psychedelics, but there were no drugs involved. They really aren't necessary in so many ways. And anyway, this man was just extraordinary and dangerous to the ego. Dangerous, probably, in many ways. He was wild. But now, you know, all these years later, I see people measuring themselves on the spiritual journey, and we work with a lot of people, and you know, they do tend to measure themselves. You know, maybe that's just the way it is. But measuring yourself of how awakened you are or how enlightened you are, you know, tends to be just the wrong way to go about it. And so what I'm saying is, if you're going to measure yourself on the path of life or on the path of spirituality, measure it only by the softness with which you meet experience, whether that experience is your own arising, you know, of the body or the pain or suffering or illness, or, you know, the whole experience of having a body, which can tend to be quite problematic, or the softness with which you meet emotions, your own emotions, or hot thoughts, or fearful thoughts, or angry thoughts, or emotional thoughts, or pain of the past, or, you know, any of these things, emotions and thoughts, the softness with which you meet those. And by softness I mean, you know, the lack of resistance to them, and the meeting them all in the equanimity of soft grace, if you like. And then, of course, you know, to have the capacity to meet life, meet your own life, meet experience as it's coming into you. Everything is, we're experiencers, right? We don't have some experiences and not other experiences. It's all experience. Experience is what's coming in through our perceptive field all the time. Some of these experiences are inert, neutral in many ways, you know, but a lot of them are divided into good experiences and bad experiences. And And we tend to obviously resist what we call the bad experiences, and we argue with them, and we meet them with a clenched fist, a tightness, a hardness. And sometimes maybe that might be appropriate depending on how we're coming at them, how we're holding them, how we're meeting them. But generally speaking, the softer, the softer within ourselves that we can become. And by soft, I mean meditationally soft, for instance, or relaxedly soft, staying in our center, staying in the truth and the depth of equanimity of being, so that we're coming and meeting life from a much deeper place. And I'll tell you that the deeper you go into your own life, really, the softer you become. It's sort of, it's the end of having a spiritual self, or a opinionated self, or a self that's driven by beliefs. Driven by beliefs, you can still have them. There are still views of the world, but they're actually held much more softly. And this softness is a grace, is a love, and it sort of allows life to be its wavy self, to be its wavy way. It allows the waves of experience to almost be as they are. It's sort of path of non-interference in life. And I know maybe this sounds weak to the self. It sounds weak to the one who's listening, saying, no, you've got to stand up for something. You've got to fight for what's right and what's good in the world, and stop evil, and and all these things. And there's a truth in that, in a sense. But that doesn't have to come from hardness. That can actually come from the depth of being. That can come from the softness of the open heart. It can come from a much deeper place, because actually when it comes from a deeper place, then right action tends to be more powerful. Ask a samurai, ask the old kind of warriors, really. A lot of the samurais, which are always a great example, are rooted in a kind of non-emotionality. It sounds cold, but actually they're just rooted in that way, in the depth of being, in presence. This presence is actually, when it is soft, in effect. It's soft but strong. Soft but strong. Soft but clear. Not weak, but not hard. Not brittle. Not brutal. It's like that, and that becomes the measure of us in many ways. That's what I've found. That's what I've found is the most powerful quality that I have in a way that came upon me. I didn't decide to, but presence and softness have sort of come together in my life. And so when I meet life and meet other people and work with other people and listen to other people and listen to the world and look at the news, and on social media I don't watch the news and stuff, but there's generally a presence and a softness, and that softness actually can have a quality of kindness in it. People don't want to hear all this, but softness, kindness, presence, equanimity, these are all the qualities that actually, are implicitly beautiful in the human experience. And so why not bring them to awareness and court them? So, this is just that short video that kind of reminds you that softness is a power. Softness is a strength. Softness is, if you look at water, you're not going to say water is hard. There's hard water, within it, but water as a thing, is not hard. It's soft. And yet look at the power of it. Look at the power of the ocean, or the power of a river, or, it's extremely powerful. And so it is with us. And so, instead of trying to reach, that's what I was saying, isn't it? Instead of trying to reach for the stars, instead of trying to become enlightened, instead of trying to become anything, soften the hard edges. It takes time. We're so brittle. We're so hard. We're so geared towards hardness. We have almost no idea what it means to be soft on the inside. And so we make a mockery of it. It's mocked, isn't it? No, soft. It's, it's mocked as though it's some kind of terrible thing. And I can understand and I can see why, but it's just not the truth of it. That's not the truth. That's not the way it is. This softness that I'm talking of is a depth, is a serious depth. You don't get to be soft until you've gone right to the bottom and faced everything and looked at everything and welcomed everything and surrendered everything and opened everything. You don't get to be really soft unless you're prepared to do that, at least, and go down and yield the rigid mind and yield the angry emotion and yield the righteous self and yield the opinionated one. Surrender this and surrender that, surrender and surrender, until by and by there's just this a great softness becomes one. And there it is. There it is. The truth of being. The truth of being. Instead of searching for it that way, it's this into the softness within. Bless you.